The topic of site visits has come up a couple times, and I understand it has been passed, not necessarily board policy, but maybe district policy, that no board member can visit a site without being escorted by someone from the administration. And I'd like to have that discussion, but I'm not sure which policy would come under.
Between them is probably a good idea. It might fit partially in the EL11, but I'm not certain. And what you're proposing is to make clear that any board member may visit any site, regardless of escort? Or
yes, no, certainly, not just show up, certainly with appointments and with notice and so forth, but, I put it out for discussion.
Well, go ahead, Ms. Williams.
And I would also like to add, kind of on those lines, that any board member should be able to go to any committee meeting without notice.
I would certainly support both of those comments. It is both respectful and appropriate that board members certainly notify the administration anytime we plan to make a visit. Sometimes those visits could be escorted, and that would be appreciated. There will be times when those visits we would not want to be escorted. We want to have a one-on-one conversation, and to that end, I would certainly support that. In terms of committee meetings, it seems clear to me that any board member has the authority to join in any committee meeting, and that should be appropriate.
And I clarify that I don't propose it without notice. I'm proposing it without escort necessarily.
So one of the things I'm hearing you say is that if we're going to do a site visit, that we need to make sure that we contact the principal, contact the district office, and be clear about whether or not we want, I'm going to go to X school, and I'm just letting you know, so that we still have that notice. Is that?
Yes, I think the notice is certainly appropriate. Anybody disagree with that?
So can we, and I'm not sure where it does belong, but we'll figure it out. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dr. I'm not quite sure about the conversation on this. I'm not sure why we're having this as part of a policy discussion. Because here's my thinking. I think it makes a lot of sense for board members to coordinate through the superintendent's office in terms of our site visits. One thing that's really helpful for me is I will bring up my list of schools that are in District 4, and I will look at that list, and I like to rotate those schools as much as possible. So I can say, I visited these schools recently. Here's the next group of schools. I can send that to Helen, and I can say, could you work with the staff to coordinate this? And I think it's helpful for staff in terms of their time and their availability and my time and availability. I think that, whether you have, I will tell you that it has truly enriched my experience touring the school to have additional folks there. We've talked about reorganization, we've talked about budgeting. So I guess my question is, do we need it in policy?
Mrs. Selkamper, I just want to be clear that to go to a school or something of that nature, I would absolutely want to give them notice. But to go to a committee meeting, I think that should be open at any time.
My understanding is that committee meetings are open meetings, and certainly we could attend as a citizen.
Here's what I don't know. Yes, absolutely. What I don't know, and Mr. Brand is gone, and maybe Mr. Miller knows the answer. If there are 3 of you, and we post them anyway, but if there are 3 of you, do we need to post it as a board meeting? That's what I'm not. And it's technical, we can resolve that later.
If we're not discussing board
I don't know if this works. If it's a posted meeting, they can attend.
3 of them, and then we don't have to say it's a board meeting.
Correct.
Okay, that was just what I wasn't clear on. We're fine. Notification is really nice. Do you want it in policy, or do you want us just to try and write up a protocol practice?
Let me take a stab at separating the 2 issues and being clear on both.
Right,
and see if
I appreciate that.
Okay, so the first issue, and I'm just going to take them simpler and then a little bit harder. The first issue is that board members may attend any publicly published meeting, and to be clear, all board committee meetings must be publicly notified and published. And we can simply do that. I don't see any dissent on that topic, so I don't think we need a policy. I think we're in agreement. Okay. Now the Mr.
Just to be
Miller.
clear, if the board members are voting on an issue there, that would be a different matter.
Understood, right. The board members should not be discussing business, they're merely attending the meeting.
As long as they're not voting.
Okay, as long as they're not voting, okay. And then the second issue that has been discussed is board members expect to be able to visit sites with notification to the district, always. And the only question, the only little bit of intricacy there is typically the district would propose meeting us there with an escort of some sort. And what we're saying is, or what I'm hearing is, I think the consensus is, sometimes that's fine, but sometimes we're going to say no escort.
And we're happy to write that up in practice so that you can look at it and say, is that what you said? And then we can share it with our schools so that they know exactly what to expect, so that everybody has the same information.
So we're limited to schools, either, for instance, the bus terminals and so forth on the grounds.
All right.